Oh, hold up. Microphone. Yes. All right. We should be having audio here soon. Let me refresh it. Chat. Give me a second. We're getting everything dialed in. Test, test. Yeah, it's showing the audio's working. It's kind of weird. Test. Testing. Chat, we're live though. We're gonna go through our post game show. We're gonna talk about um, this Lions win to end the season finale. Sure, making sure everything sounds good before we get rolling here. Because this is the last one, man. Everything's got to be money. Looks like it wants to be great, but it's not going to be great yet. It looks like it wants to be great. I may have to halt this. I can't hear anything unless I have it hooked up wrong. Test, test. Maybe that will give her audio. Check. Give me one if we sound good, man. Give me one if we got audio. If we're good here. Ah, I'm muted. That makes sense. Okay, now I got it. Yes. Okay, cool. We're ready to go. You click the mute button, you don't sound good. That makes sense. Makes no sound, actually. Here we go. All right, let's roll, man. Let's roll. Let's get into this. My notes pulled up here. Welcome, everybody, back to another post-game show. Today we are here to recap Lions' final game of the season against the Chicago Bears, 1916 win. Kind of sad a little bit, to be honest with you, man. I feel like, I knew this was coming, but at the same time, it doesn't hit you until it hits you. I feel like it hasn't hit me yet. But the fact that next week we won't be looking forward to a game, it's going to sting. It's going to sting. I think it stung a little bit at the end there, just understanding. It was like, okay, we could take the field goal and end this thing. And great, we're going to get the win. But does it matter? And honestly, I think this is kind of the larger scope view that I try to have, and I feel like I've done a better job of having this over the last few years. Of ultimately, you're rooting for the wins, right? You're rooting for the wins. You're rooting for the outcome. But at the end of it all, the joy has to be the journey. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to get up here and like break it down, but really, I am, man. Like, it's great to know they won, but ultimately, it's like that's not the fun. The fun is watching them play. So, and I think moments like that kind of bring it all home. It's like, hey, you won the game, but what does it mean? No, not really anything. It's kind of the same as you. No matter where you end your season, it doesn't really matter. I think as a fan, it's more about kind of how it just is watching it, having fun watching it, enjoying it, doing the breakdowns, talking about it each week. What can we fix? I think that's why the offseason is so fun because you can't lose, can't win, but it's just a journey, man, that you go along for. So I am pumped for the offseason. Ready to get to the draft talk. Not as much ready for the coaching talk because I know that's going to be all the conversation until it's finished. The good thing is I don't think it's going to take very long for them to make a lot of these decisions. I think Dan will kind of nip some of these pretty quickly. And a lot of times by the time you're at like the Senior Bowl, this stuff starts to kind of wrap up. So I don't think it's going to take too long for them to make some decisions. The key decisions, a lot of the assistant coaching stuff, that's going to change regardless. But the big moves, the coordinators, I don't think that's going to take that long. And once we get that settled in, man, we're on to the fun phase, which is the roster construction. But before we get there, we got to talk about this game because I feel like this game was a reflection of a lot of the season from the simple fact that Lions ran the ball well. Because they ran the ball well, they were very efficient offensively. And that was the difference. And the Lions haven't been that consistently this year. I will also say the good and bad. Red zone offense was messy today. Some of that I kind of expected. I thought it'd be a little bit tricky in the red zone against these guys. I thought we'd get Tesla some looks down there. We didn't. It was a little bit messy. And I would say the other big takeaway is you also still had probably too many mistakes. Probably just a few too many mental errors, things like that. But to be honest with you, I don't even want to say a few too many mistakes. You had a few errors, but you didn't have, I would say, too many mistakes. It wasn't overwhelming, a ridiculous amount of pre-snap penalties, or a ridiculous amount of what the heck are the Lions doing here. There was a few of them, There's questionable things the Lions did decision-making wise, but ultimately, I didn't think we beat ourselves overwhelmingly today. And a lot of that was shown by the fact that we were able to run the football. We were consistent there. We were efficient. So I think it was a lot of the season in that way. Still things that you're like, I just wish this was cleaner. I wish a lot of this was cleaner than it was today. But it was good enough, especially when you can run the ball. And I do feel like that this game was a really big example of what it's been all season long. The Lions have not been able to hide a lot of their flaws because they haven't been efficient. Lack of efficiency, lack of being able to kind of lean on something on early downs, it tends to highlight all of the bad that you do. And I think a lot of that's been the case this year, especially in recent weeks. All of the bad's been just highlighted so much. And I think in a game like this, where that wasn't the case, where you were able to win the game by running the football and you were able to control the game and you were able to set up the play action because of that to end the game, it kind of minimized some of the problems that we had in this game. And I think that's just getting back to the Lions being the Lions that we all know. Get back to that point as a team. The recipe isn't crazy this offseason. Get better there. And Dan Campbell said it this week. It's everything that we're better in running the football. It's everything. They said we were at lost every game we haven't had a 100-yard rusher. Shoot. I remember when we couldn't get a 100-yard rusher with Stafford. That was just who we were. And obviously we know how inconsistent the Lions were during that stretch. So it does make sense that that's what it's going to come down to. And in this game, the Lions did just that. They ran the heck out of the football. They ran the ball pretty darn well today. About as good as it's been in a long time. It was fun to watch. It was also partly expected that they were going to be able to run the football. Even without Penei. Like, if they couldn't run the ball in this game, I would have been incredibly disappointed. Because as rough as it's been this year, this is the type of team where it's like they're not good at playing the run at all. 5 yards a carry. They're not very good at this. We're not going to go crazy, but it's got to be good. And it was good. And I'll give credit to them for that. To have Chris Hubbard step in, Christian Mahogany, I think, did some good. Glam Glasgow, like, you did enough. You did what you were supposed to do against a bad run defense. You ran the football, and everything else played off of that. It's 27 carries, 122 yards. That's enough. It's not amazing. You didn't get the massive run that would have changed those numbers significantly, but you did what you were supposed to do. And because you did that, the game looked like it did. And because you did that, the mistakes weren't as highlighted. Because you did that, you were able to finish the game with the ball in your hands. And you probably could have made an argument. You could have finished the game with the ball in your hands the drive before, but maybe some questionable decision-making led to that not being the case. And I would start right there with the fact that on 2nd and inches, really looking back on it now, they absolutely should have declined that. You should have declined it. Chicago jumped offside after Monty nearly got the first down because we were running that well. And you accepted it. You gave yourself the first down. And then things just went backwards, like completely backwards. And you end up having to give them the ball back. And shout out to your defense for stepping up, making the stops. We're going to go through that as well. But you probably should have ended it the drive before. Because you try that screen pass, which isn't there. You have miscommunication because now you have to throw the ball. Then you throw a pick, which was absolutely forced by Goff. It wasn't a bad idea. The coverage made sense, but it was forced. It's 3rd and 20. Let me just see if I can make this happen. And it didn't happen. Great win, strong finish to the season. Can't wait for the final locker room speech. Facts. I'm really looking forward to that. I'll be a little sad watching it, but I am looking forward to that. Not the greatest winning season, but it is winning season. That's good too, man. Staying competitive. Like, my hope for this year was just getting the playoffs. And unfortunately, they didn't do that. But I didn't care about winning the division because ultimately, it's kind of like I said at the beginning, it's about being able to watch your team play more and more. And if you get in, you get a chance to see more. And in the NFL, if you get in, you got a chance to beat, I think, anybody. Especially with the way I thought Goff was playing this year and the pass game came alive at the end of the season. I felt like we could give ourselves a chance in any single game scenario. So it stinks that it maybe was 1 or 2 plays at some point in the season to just give us one more win and we'd have been playing for a spot. And who knows if we would have got it. But if we would have got in, I think we would have had a chance to beat anybody. I don't think this team would have been a Super Bowl team by any means, but I think they could have beat anybody on any given game. And I think they would have been capable of doing that. And that's really going to be my goal, I think, going forward. Not my goal, but what I'm hoping for the Lions is just get in. Every year, I think I'm going to come with the exact same mindset. Just get into the playoffs. Any way you can do it. And realistically, going 9-8, 4 straight years with a winning record, as a fan, I haven't been through all the bad that some of y'all have, but I've been through some bad. I'm pretty pleased with the fact that this is where we're at as a team, that our standard has gotten to this spot where this isn't good enough. I'm pretty pleased with it, man. And it keeps you engaged throughout the entire season because they are still in the mix the entire season. It's not like we're one of these teams that are like, yeah, we're 2-8 and then we run off. Like, we're in it. We're in it all year. That said, yeah, I mean, and that's my thing. Like, the whole draft position thing, first off, I think if you're complaining about draft position, then you better have a good sense of what you're going to be capable of getting. Because I think otherwise it's just noise. If you can lay out to me your expectation for every player that's going to go in front of us and why our draft position is a problem because we won't get that specific player, then you have something. If you can't do that, honestly, I don't want to hear it. Because I know everybody that's saying that cannot do it. I can't do it. So for me to overreact or to react harshly to something like that, I think it's just not worthy as a fan. There's no reason to do it. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, oh, you lost 2 spots. Well, if you can't break down who the guy is that we're missing out on, you're just looking at it from just a position order as of now, makes no sense. If you want to come back to the draft, we can look back years later and be like, man, if we would have had that extra game, now we have something. But at this point, I don't even want to hear it, to be honest with you. And you'll never hear me do that. I just want to see him win football games, man. I want to see him play well. I want to see them end the season well. I want to see them beat the Ben Johnson. They did just that. I'm happy. I'm happy, man. I'm happy we ended with a win. I'm very happy we ended with a win. And we'll see how the future lays out. But all that other stuff, man, just noise, dude. It's just something to be upset about. I think at this point, I've just found to be grateful in the fact that, man, we're freaking competitive. We could be these other football teams, man. You know, we could be there. I'm darn happy we have Dan Campbell. And speaking of things I'm happy about, let's talk a little bit about the things that I'm happy about, man, because there are some things to be happy about. We talked about the run game got going. That was pretty good. I'll tell you what, Kelvin Shepherd, I got to give him some flowers, man. He deserves them. He does. I mean, I understand we gave him some points there in the second half. We gave him a drive, but it was all understandable, even watching it live, why it happened like it happened. But I got to give Kelvin Shepherd his flowers. This thing has not seemingly looked overwhelmingly complicated. He has not tried to completely confuzzle the other team, and they have no idea what's going on. But yet at the same time, there were clear examples today where Ben Johnson and that Bears offense didn't have the right look for what we were doing. And we have become an absolute zone coverage defense. Over the last 3 to 4 weeks, we have become a zone defensive team. That's what we are. And this really goes back even maybe further than that when we start doing it more on third down. But we've become this team. We've adapted that philosophy, and we're doing it in a way that we've done in the past. We're just doing it at a much higher rate. And since that changed with that emphasis, I'm very happy with what Kelvin Shepherd has been able to accomplish here, man. He's taken a roster that you could look at the film and say, man, it was kind of hard to find answers. You know what I mean? It was kind of hard to find answers. You'd watch games like the Rams game, like, I don't really know what the answer is here. I mean, we could play more man, but we're not really winning these one-on-ones. We're kind of beat up. I don't know how we play man with where we're at in the secondary because we just don't have answers across the board. I don't know what we do. And for him to make a very aggressive change in terms of the philosophy of how they were going to go about this to end the season, to give themselves a chance based on what they had available. And as Kelvin Shepherd said, that's coaching. Kelvin Shepherd did that, man. I give him a ton of credit for it. I think he's going to be back next season. We'll see how it works out. But he deserves flowers for what he did with this defense. For him addressing the issues that he felt like were the glaring issues. He said explosives. That it can't happen. How many explosives did we give up today? Not many. We did a pretty good job against explosives, I would say. I mean, maybe there's a few in there, but there wasn't a lot. No explosives, I believe, in the run game, which is pretty darn awesome, too. Maybe outside of, I think Luther Burden had one. That might have been a run. I think it was a pass. We limited those. That's been an issue for weeks now. The biggest thing that became an issue was explosives in the run game. Ever since we started going zone heavy, we started going shell coverage, we started giving up explosives in the ground game. And over the past few weeks, that's really settled. This week, I feel like we settled it in really well. And coming into this game, it was clear. I thought Chicago would score a lot more than 16. I got to be honest. That alone has me very happy about how they performed. I thought there was no doubt they were scoring well more than 16 points. Because look, from a matchup perspective, it's like, I don't really know how we match up that well. Especially once you find out guys like Alex aren't playing. Because now it's like, okay, I kind of like playing man, but how do we do that? We don't have the guys to do that. So the idea for me was play zone, do what you've been doing. Don't let anything get vertical. Force them to make long drives, sustained drives, and let Caleb Williams maybe miss some throws because that's what he'll do. He will miss some throws. And I think they played right into that. They did that, and they executed it at a high enough level to go win the football game. And that's what it's been about these, really the final stretch of the season. They haven't always won these games, but at the same time, they've done what they can to try to give themselves a chance, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, and they did that again in this game. And I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome, man. I really do. Yeah, so that's really good stuff from Kelvin Shepard. And again, the run defense wasn't great, but the fact is we didn't give up explosives. 18 for 65. I mean, statistically, that's awesome. 4 yards of carry from Swift. It's a good rushing offense. We outran them. We outdid them on the ground game. That's pretty darn good. I think Tyleik Williams showed up in this game. You felt his presence a lot watching it live. Jack Campbell, of course, as always. You felt those guys. Rodriguez had some flashes, some good, some bad, it felt like, but you felt it a little bit. DB run support. That's the area that I'm happy about. That's the area that's been the problem. We have turned into a team that when we got to this shell stuff where it's just two deep safeties, where when teams would run the ball well, it wasn't that they were running for 7 yards. That's doable. Chicago had 6 and 7 yards. They had runs like that. But the problem was those runs were turning into 30 or a touchdown or 20. They were turning into explosives because once they got to our DBs, we weren't fitting runs. And we were allowing big plays and chunks to happen off of it. We didn't allow that today. We didn't allow a good run to become a massive run, to be a backbreaker. We didn't allow that. Daniel Thomas, you felt his presence as a run defender. You felt it, man. You felt it from Rocky Sin. You felt it from DJ Reed. Like, you felt it from these guys, man. That was really good. And again, in zone coverage, we've had a lot of breakdowns. A lot of them. I would say it felt cleaner today. Not great, but it felt cleaner. Up until the weird one where Maddox dove on a quarters coverage. I don't know why he did that. There was no reason to do that in a quarters blitz. He got two underneath. He's got one guy. I don't know why he drove on it. Fact is, though, he got out-leveraged. He out-leveraged Shamik Robertson on the play. That was a bad look. But he had a good pick. And I would say for the most part, communication felt much stronger. It wasn't perfect, but it felt stronger. We tried to get more aggressive in the second half. We obviously gave us some things doing that in zone coverage. But at the same time, you also have to look at the times when it worked for us as well. So I'm happy with what he did defensively. Proud of what he did defensively. And I think he's going to be back next season. So give Kelvin Shepard his flowers. I think he did a good job. I think he did a really good job. Offensively, again, to me, the offensive story has been pretty straightforward all season long. I don't think it's been anything crazy. I think it's been a mix of breakdowns from guys that you don't typically see out there, which has been a big problem. Tight end depth, right? Receiver depth, guys missing blocks, just easy stuff like Minnesota last week. Alongside the fact that the Lions also did not have a consistent run game whatsoever. And when they played teams they've been able to push around up front, they've looked awesome. They've looked absolutely awesome offensively. And today, I don't want to say they looked awesome because they stalled out, but at the same time, there was a lot of efficiency to what they were, and I think that's all it came down to. They just have to get back to that. I don't think there's anything major that needs to really take place here. I mean, coaching changes will happen, but personnel-wise, that's what it is. We saw today, Chicago, right? This was a team that played good man coverage against San Fran. The fans were saying, why aren't we doing this more? And I thought against us, whenever they did it, they had no answer. It felt like whenever they played man against us, bad things would happen. Unless, like, at the end when they played that two-man and, I think we took a sack at the end. Like, that was it. That was their answer. But, like, that's obvious when it's third and long. Like, you can sit in that. But outside of it, when they went man, it felt like we had an answer. You felt all of our matchup beaters. You saw all that we were capable of between Gibbs and J-Mo, and it's just hard to match up with all these guys. Khalif Raymond, man, he's a good player, man. We got all those guys going. I felt like the offense was pretty straightforward in that sense. I think a lot of this stuff gets overblown. If it's all these things, like, it's not some magical secret, potion that we're throwing out there that's like overwhelming the opponent. If you can bully a team up front, everything opens up, specifically for how we play. And to end the game just like that with Monty, with a play action on second down, because you can run the clock down. You can run the clock down because you know you're going to get it. You don't need to throw the ball. You know you're going to push them backwards. And the play action bites everybody. And then all of a sudden, it's an easy completion. And as soon as you can run the ball, we said this when we were live, you can create matchups. It's hard to create isolated matchups if you cannot run the football. Lions can run the football. They can isolate matchups just like they did against Washington when the change happened. When we lit up Washington, we isolated matchups all day long. As soon as they went single high, they had no answer. Because clearly, we got a lot of answers at receiver. And we saw that all season long, especially towards this back half. The Rams game, they had no answer in the secondary. And I'll give credit to John Morton here. Morton said this coming into the game. Morton laid out coming into the game. He said he feels like a lot of these interceptions are a lack of detail from the opposition. But he said with our guys, he didn't think that was going to be a problem. Right? He was confident. He felt we were going to run the football against these guys. He even brought up the fact that they allow 5 yards per carry. And I think it was just that straightforward. We could run the football. We could isolate matchups. We did it against Washington. They went single high. We beat them up in the pass game. They went too deep. We ran the football. It was very straightforward. And I think ultimately football at its core a lot of times is just that. And then it's the situational aspect. And that's the area that we were disappointing in this game. We were not consistently good enough situationally. 6 of 13 on third down, that's pretty darn good. But in the red zone, to stall out basically every single time, that's the disappointing element. That's where you do need to be more consistent. So with that, we can run through a little bit of this, and we see it by the first time that we ended up getting stopped. And we tried that little tight end screen, and that didn't work. And then St. Brown had a pass breaking up. That was pretty tight. They play a lot of that cover 2 coverage when they get in the red zone, right? That's kind of who they are. It's a good coverage to play, and it's tough to deal with if you have the length that they do, and because you're covering a lot of ground, and they cover a lot of ground when the field shrinks. We saw that. But we were running the ball well from jump. Defensively, again, pretty pleased with this. I mean, this went 3 quarters without them scoring. You can't ask for anything more than that. Talk about the DBs getting involved a little bit, but everything was forced underneath. We're not giving up explosives. Talik has to run stuff. We then show man. We go to the zone. We get an incomplete pass. Muhammad jumps out there into the flats, an incomplete pass. We almost did that, felt like every single time. I mean, we've been doing this for weeks now, and it felt like the Bears still had absolutely no plan or expectation for that, which was weird. It was strange to see that be the case, but that's what it felt like. Anyways, we get the ball back. Goff was playing really well, I thought, under pressure early. Really well under pressure early, making really good decisions. Some of his best throws of the season, probably some of his best. Now, we still weren't perfect up front. Pass pro, of course, when we had to live in that world, wasn't consistently great. Obviously, this is why play action helps us, because we have to be drop back. We saw even in this game, like, the balance is our weapons are really good, and a lot of times our first guy gets open. But the flip, especially against this team, because they couldn't match up with us, and we saw that. The flip side is our pass protection is not overly consistent right now. And we had to go drop back. You saw Mahogany with some losses. You saw Hubbard with some losses. You saw Decker with some losses. Still not the game that we want to play, but this is also not a great pass rush, so it wasn't overwhelming. You didn't feel like we were under duress all game long, but that was something that was still very noticeable. I think in this game was the case, but we picked up some big third and longs. You know, we dropped that little crossing route that potentially could have been a massive play. We had a flea flicker that got batted at the line of scrimmage, which I don't think was going to be open anyway. We tried to pull out some tricks. I think the biggest thing that I would question with that, and I would say this when Ben was here too, the reason the trick plays work is because you have the coverage set up for it. You can't just call a trick play and have it work. Like, you have to have the look from the defense to make the trick play work, because a lot of times trick plays are just an expansion of a normal concept, but it just adds a wrinkle to it to delay some sort of movement defensively. And if you don't have the right look for what they're in concept-wise, the trick play is no guarantee to actually work. And I think that's probably the biggest question mark with some of the things they did. I did like the zone read element. Definitely one of the biggest takeaways offensively. One of the things I thought they improved on greatly. A lot of action in the backfield. A lot of action to give that defensive end something to respect. Finally, man. After the last few weeks of putting themselves in a spot where we weren't doing that. Whether that's a zone read with the 2-back system, whether that's a jet fake with Jahmyr Gibbs or Jamison Williams, giving them something to absolutely respect, and then finally we can throw a screen off of it. We gave them something to respect, and I think we married that really well. Maybe some of the best that we've done all season long, to give them something to respect in the backfield versus just straightforward running the football and a motion pre-snap that settles in. Fast motions. That was really effective in this game, and I love the fact that they implemented it so much. St. Brown was obviously awesome. Picked up every third down and long, it felt like, specifically. And again, we just didn't capitalize in the red zone nearly enough. Defensively, Aiden Hutchinson showed up. We gave them problems up front, as we felt a lot in this game. Jack Campbell, I said, did a great job, had a great pass break over into the field. Hutch got a sack on that next drive. Offensively, we end up scoring our one and only touchdown of the game. We get Jahmyr Gibbs isolated one-on-one. They finally went man coverage. They blitzed out of it. He's going to be isolated. He got cooked. We have those kind of answers. But we ran the ball a lot that drive too. A 6-yard run, a 3-yard run, a 0-yard run. We get them to go offside. I mean, to be honest with you, up until that fourth quarter, we were actually playing some clean football, man. We were playing some really clean football up until that fourth quarter. And then, we had our own mistakes, but we get them to jump offside, 11-yard on an over route against the blitz. Goff was doing really well against the blitz, as mentioned, especially early in this game. Play action, 6 yards, 0-yard run. I do like Zach Corton too. I don't know if I did over here on BR, but we talked about fullback, and like, he's done a little bit this season. I'm a big fan of Zach Corton. I'd like to keep Horton around, at least for competition this offseason. 3rd and 4, you pick up 30 yards. Again, the angle route gets you isolated one-on-one. That's good. If anything, maybe you could question the fact they didn't run the ball more when they got in some of those condensed looks offensively, because they were able to create some movement. I'm not saying it would have been great. One of the runs went for 3 yards. They didn't all work necessarily. but it could have been something that maybe you leaned into just a bit heavier and kind of trusted the fact that you were going to create movement versus trying to do it through the pass game. That could have been one of the complaints I think about this. Mekhi Wingo is great to see Mekhi Wingo get some snaps. He was playing D tackle, got called for a holding call, which I don't think still happened. I still don't think it happened. But Mekhi Wingo is good to see him out there. I like Rocky Sin. I think Rocky Sin is going to probably get brought back. Immediate reaction. I think he's going to get brought back this offseason. But again, he's making tackles, a 4-yard gain. It gets bounced outside. He limits it to a 4-yard gain. That was the difference. A 2-yard run, a 2-yard run. Now, I didn't like this. I think we had a couple mental errors like this. I talked about early at the end of the game, we should have declined a penalty on 2nd and half yard and then should have got the first down and ran the clock down. But then there's, instead of giving it back to him like we ultimately did, and it would have gave you a better chance, there's also the element where I believe it was a 3rd down and 4, and they end up subbing offensively, and we don't sub defensively. I think that was the one. That's one where I believe, if I'm looking at it correctly, I believe we should have subbed there. Just somebody. And did it slowly and try to run the play clock down and make them run out of time because the official has to wait. I would have loved to see something like that, but we didn't do that. They ended up picking up the 4th down. Again, we got in zone. It kind of hit the hitch flat, kept the drive alive. But, again, Hush did his thing. Rodrigo shut the little underneath pass down. He got another batted pass. Tyler Williams showed up. And then ultimately it was Derek Barnes who had a fantastic pass breakup, which got us off the field once again. It's actually a forced fumble that was called a pass break, called it complete. Hutch got after him again. And then we missed the field goal before half. The first half was about as good as it can get. Outside of just not executing cleanly in the red zone, we did pretty much everything well, I would say, in the first half. It's almost a little bit underwhelming that we only scored 16. It felt like we played way better than that, to be honest with you. It felt like we did way more than that. I mean, it was a pretty strong drive before half to get in field goal range and then missed the field goal. And then even to come out of half, like even the second half when we needed it, the opposite side of the ball did show up for us. You know, they did show up. I mean, defensively from jump, we forced a 3 and out. You're talking about going into half 13-0. They're getting the ball. This can immediately flip momentum of the game. And defensively to force a 3 and out from jump, that's freaking good, man. That's really good. On a 3rd down and short, Rocky Sin comes through, gets a pass breakup on Colston Loveland, the guy that was cooking all game. But it was set up by the fact they only ran for 1 yard on 1st down. That's what it was set up by. You won the line of scrimmage finally. It's been a minute since we talked about that, but they did. Offensively, a little bit sloppy. A delay of game. Can't get a delay of game, right? It's going to be 3rd down and short. You get a delay of game. I think it now became 3rd and 9. All of a sudden, it's a completely different ball game, and you get sacked. It may not have been a 3rd and 9 because you start off with a good run. You had a 3-yard gain. You had a 4-yard gain. It was going to be a 3rd and 3. It became a 3rd and 8. That's when you took the sack. They went 2-man in the back end. It was covered up well. That can't happen. And I don't know, golf coaching, whatever. That can't happen, right? We still too many of those. But again, I think the biggest difference is we don't feel those as much because we won the football game. The reason we won the football game is because we were better up front. On both sides of the ball, we were better up front in this game. But ultimately, I am, you know, that I mean, to me, that was the big difference in this one. But they too many of those. Too many of those. Okay? We need to figure that out. Defensively, again, defense showed up, ugly possession, forced an interception. Avonte Maddox, after getting called for offside in the 4th and 4, which I don't even know that we went offside, but we got called for it. We've had a couple of those. But it was good to see them respond off of that because, like, we had it against Minnesota last week where the first drive we got called for a false start when clearly we didn't false start. I think it was, and we had a punt. It was a bad call. This kind of felt like that a little bit. But again, we forced a lot of broken plays in that second half. We forced them to make things off script. They missed some throws, threw some incomplete passes. I mean, in zone, a lot of times you think, man, we might get diced up a bit. So the answer is you got to bring some bodies. They brought some bodies. I thought that was going to be the plan against the run, create some confusion up front. I think they created a lot of confusion up front. They brought some cornerback blitzing, and they picked it off. Avonte Maddox picked it off, went cover 3, covered it really well, took it away. And then offensively, getting back out there, Khalif Raymond then started to roll a bit for us, had some things underneath. I mean, he absolutely burnt C.J. Gardner-Johnson, absolutely cooked that dude. Then we just kind of lived play action on this spot. I thought a lot of that was just set up by the fact that we ran the ball. I'd like to go back and see what they were doing defensively, but I got to believe a lot of the things they were doing in coverage was based on the fact that we were running the ball too well at that point. So Lions adjustment, second half, we're going to go play action. And if you remember, the Lions have done this once this season. I'm trying to remember which game it was, but I think it was Green Bay week 1. Dude, it might have been Green Bay week 1, which is nuts. But we came out in the second half, and it all became play action, and our offense found a rhythm. And the Lions did it again. Came out, play action, and they found a rhythm. They got right out of it. After that goofy slump, weird delay of game, they got out of that immediately by play action over and over and over and over. And they went down, they got a field goal out of it. But it was all set up by that. Then they went back to the run game. Still were forced to call a timeout because they kind of ran out of time, which was weird. Again, didn't execute as well in the red zone as they needed to. You know, pass break up on a red 2 look. They tried to squeeze it in. Ultimately, you had JMO in the flat, missed him by a few inches. That would have been a touchdown. That's incomplete. Forced to kick a field goal. And then defensively, this is where you start to give up a few points. It was a bad decision, I believe, by Avonte Max to dive downhill, because that was one of their big plays, and you just gave it up by just goofiness and zone coverage. Just weird. I mean, you got to be on a string in zone if you're going to play it. We were not on a string there. Man straight, you're covering your man. But in zone, you got to be on a string with everybody else. And that was not it. You made them earn it that drive, I would say, for the most part. You were blitzing 6. You were getting after him. But that one instance of what the heck are we doing? That one instance. And then offensively, you're kind of looking at it as, okay, we might seal the deal here. And it was just kind of some weirdness, right? You tried a little trick play again. You didn't execute the trick plays. I think when you think about timing, here's what I would say. This is what it feels like. It's kind of the point that I just made earlier. Trick plays work if you get the right look. It's hard to just call a trick play and have it work. You also have to have the defense for what you're expecting, and then it's a little wrinkle to what the concept was going to be. You know what I mean? A lot of ways, it's an extension of just a normal concept that would beat a certain coverage look, specifically in a pass play. Well, for the Lions, I don't know how many times they actually had the right look for what they were trying to run. The weird flea flicker was thrown away. The Goff on a 3rd down and 1? It was covered up, and I believe they were in cover 3, and he covered it up. He didn't give any underneath threat. Maybe he dives on that, but he didn't. Maybe just credit to them for covering it up, but maybe timing of the trick plays. Not that they don't know how to design them, but the timing still has to make sense for what the expectation was. And I don't know that the timing was very good there in hindsight. I like the fact that they pulled it out and they tried it and they tried to end it. I thought it was fun. I'm cool with having fun, right? Because I'm a fan at the end of the day. I'm not out there coaching the team. I'm a fan. I'm cool with the fun, but it didn't work. It didn't work. And you were in a 3rd down and short. Yeah, that wasn't it. And then defense, we ended up giving up the touchdown again, but we ultimately ended up kind of finishing the deal here. I'm trying to remember what it was that got. It was a big drag play. That's what it was. We brought the blitz. We brought like 7. Just checked it down, picked up a big play, and then they had the one high-low against zone, which, again, there's always beaters for zone if you have time. And they got us in a look, and they popped it. And then, of course, we had just kind of a funky ending to our next drive where we're moving the ball well, and you get a miscommunication, and then the deep post, which was forced on a Tampa 2, which was a fine read. You'd hope the linebacker would sit on the tight end. He broke off it. That's why I got covered. It's one of those bang things, right? Linebacker sits, Goff can throw behind him and try to put it in front of the safety. But linebacker dies. Now that big sit-down route would be open. But for the coverage element, the concept is designed to sit that guy down. So good play by TJ Edwards. That's where I'm going to go with that. Good play. And you forced it. You forced try to get there. I would have liked to see them in hindsight probably just run that ball, because then they could have tried to play for the field goal game instead of trying to force it and pick up the first. To run a design play on a 3rd and 20 to try to pick up a first down on a tie football game felt weird. I understand the aggression of it, because there's that like mindset of like, well, Dan, let's end the football game, right? We're not playing for whatever. But in that spot, it didn't make sense. That was like, this is really difficult to pick that up. If they just play the sticks, it's gonna be very difficult to get this. So why take a swing to try to pick up the sticks on a 3rd down and 20? Right? Why not just play the underneath game? If you get close enough, then go for it. But otherwise, take the field goal. Maybe it's because you already missed one. I don't know. But to rip that pass felt weird. It was like, all right, I don't know if that made any sense there. But ultimately, like I said, timing needs to be better offensively. Still got to clean up some of the ugliness. Defensively, proud of Kelvin Shepard, what he did, the adjustments that he made. A lot of guys showed up. I think some guys are going to stick around after a game like this, tied along with what they've already done, some of the growth. I think some guys are going to stick around. I think O-line definitely still needs work. There's no doubt about that. Don't take this game as Lions ran the ball well. They're going to be okay. Like, no, it's not a good run defense. They ran the ball fine against bad run defenses this year, but this is not a good run defense. Lions did what they were supposed to do in this game. They ran the football well, just like they did the first time they played this team. And that's the difference. Make that a little bit better, get a little bit better there, and we're going to be fine. We're going to be absolutely fine, but we got to get better there first and foremost, and we're going to get there. I believe they're going to address it because Dan made it very clear they're going to. It's everything, he said. So happy to get this win, really happy to get this win, end the season the right way, sweeping the Chicago Bears. I hate that this is our last post-game show, but I'm glad it's through a win and we're winning with a winning record. And now I'll just root for our NFC North teams to lose, in the playoffs. I'm not one of those guys that are like, I'm going to root for my team to represent. Heck no, dude. I'm for all these dudes to lose by 100 points in their first game. Hopefully that's the case. But regardless, it'll be very fun to watch this as we continue forward. Dan versus Ben is going to be fire as we move forward. No doubt. Got to get back now at Green Bay because they handle business. Got to get back at Flores because we had his number a bit. Now they had our number this year. It's going to be a good offseason, man. I hate that it's already here, but I appreciate y'all rocking with me through the entire season, these post-game shows, through the entire season for these daily shows over here on Bleacher Report specifically. I've had a good time doing it. I look forward to next season, and this offseason specifically, and kind of keeping track of what moves we're going to make. And I guess we'll just see how everything goes, man, as we work through this offseason, man. So have a great night. Happy New Year to everybody out there. Take the positives from this one, man. Enjoy the win, okay? Enjoy the journey. And, I think you should look at it from a grateful perspective. The fact that, man, hey, we were in it. We were in it for a lot of this year, man. So I'm going to end it here, man. I appreciate y'all joining. Have a great night. I'll see you guys soon. Go Lions. 1916 over the Bears. Feels good to win, man. Feels good to win. I'm out. Chat over here on YouTube, man. We're going to wrap this thing up. I appreciate y'all joining for the watch party. It was a good time. Dude, I don't know, man. I can't believe the season's over. Like, it's crazy. And I hear you, Sax, man. I'm with you. No choice in the guys. He could play. He should keep his job. If he had the final say or didn't complain how bad his guys were, he's out. Yeah, I don't know. But as a coach, like, I don't know. I hear what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Right. It's like, it's your job to make it right. You know what I mean? Make us right. And I think he did a good job. Man. We got to get, obviously, some healthier depth, hopefully. Be healthier next season would be great. But I think for what it was pretty good. It's pretty good, man. I think there's a lot of positives to take away with this one. This is a good way to end it, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be good for a lot of people involved. I think this is a very big positive. But I also think the big positive, too, is a lot of things were clarified, I think, in some ways. Like, there's still legitimate issues. There's still things that just aren't clean enough. We still got to get better in areas up front. Like, nothing kind of, I guess, like, patched up some of the problems that we know we still have. But at the same time, you could also see what you're still capable of. You were able to see all the good in the dark. You know what I mean? Like, man, we got all of these things. If we can just get there, we're capable of doing all these things, man. And that's fun. That fires me up, man. So the offseason will be fun. I'm going to end it here. We'll be back this week. We'll probably start getting into the coaching stuff this week. What's the next move at coach? What's the next move at coordinator? Not coach, but coordinators, all that kind of stuff. Look at some names. See how aggressive it is. I hope Dan addresses this quickly. I don't want this thing to drag. Whatever he's going to do, just make the decision. Let's move. Mahogany's not a starter next year. At least as of now. I mean, he could earn it. He's supposed to get better. He's a young guy. You know what I mean? You're supposed to improve. I'm not going to, throw him away like he can't improve. But, yeah, right now, not great, right? Like, definitely got to address that. I'm with you. You got to address it as you're looking for a starter this offseason. Have to do that. And then we'll see where it goes. We'll see how much he develops. We'll see how he comes around. Should only be a good thing. But I'm going to get out of here, man. Have a great night. I'll see you guys soon. 1916, Big W.